We're going to introduce our first keynote speaker. So the question to you in this room is the following. What do you get when you blend information, IT, security, privacy, and privacy together? You get leadership. All right, so look beyond the role of operations. We focus a lot on the tactical approaches to IG, but we need to also see the strategic leadership role IG can play in their organizations. So to help us understand this more, ARMA has asked another megastar to join us here in Nashville. In the domain of information security, there is no bigger rock star than this security best-selling author. By day, he is the program chair of Graduate Cybersecurity Technology at the University of Maryland Global Campus. Now, give a round of applause to Dr. Mansur Hasib.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Nashville and welcome to ARMA 2019.
Should we play the three questions quickly?
Sure.
Mike, we're just going to do 3 questions quickly here. I know we're tight for time. All right. Now, a big theme here is did you know? Now, did you know that Mansur has been to all 50 states? But as a Canadian, the question I got for him is, have you been to all 10 provinces?
I've been to 5.
All right. Let's get him an invite there to the next 5.
I'm waiting for the invitation for the other 5.
All right. Now, I introduced you as a rock star. Why is that?
Well, this is an interesting story because ISC Square, I'm a member of ISC Square, and they give out this Information Security Leadership Awards every year. And in 2017, I won that award, and along with the award came a guitar. And I was wondering, why the guitar? And they say, well, you're now considered a rock star in the field. I said, oh, okay, this is wonderful. And it's actually a Fender Stratocaster, and I do play, so it's absolutely lovely. What is most amazing is this year, one of my former students is going to win one of those awards.
Nice. Rock stars everywhere. Rock stars here, rock stars there. All right. And the key takeaway for today's message is?
The key takeaway is that there's a continuum from records management to information governance to cybersecurity. And everything is in the packaging. If you call yourself a records manager, the salary will be X. Call yourself an information governance person, increase that by 30%. Call yourself a cybersecurity professional, bingo, you got the gold mine. So it's very important that you understand that transition, and that will be my job today to give you that understanding on how these are interrelated.
And let's get to it.
So thank you very much for having me here. Let's get to know you a little bit better. How many of you consider yourself to be information governance professionals? And how many consider yourself to be cybersecurity professionals? All right. So I thought that, and that is one of the key things that I want to share with you today. If you are in information governance, you are in cybersecurity, so that'll be one of my first jobs. So hopefully by the end of my session, all of you will raise your hands. First, let's understand what information is. It's not records anymore. Information has value, and that is the most important thing that we all need to understand. Why does it have value? Because information is required to make decisions. If the information is flawed, or does not have integrity or truth, guess what happens? You make wrong decisions. So information actually drives the mission of the modern organization. A lot of decisions are now information driven, and therefore many people have called it the new oil. I call it the gold mine. And I thought mining the information gold mine would be an excellent title for my talk today, because throughout my whole career, the last 30 years, where I spent in nuclear energy, biotechnology, healthcare, education, what I saw was that information and technology was essentially driving the mission of the organizations. In the nuclear power plant, yeah, we used to have records management, but when that records became searchable, and when records and information became new knowledge, guess what? The value started to increase. In healthcare, when information and even patient records became longitudinal, what happened? We started to create artificial intelligence. The doctors and nurses, they became more productive and innovative. So this is a very, very key difference. So I urge you in this new era, through this conversation, start to rebrand yourself as information professionals, cybersecurity professionals, rather than records managers, because it's going to make a huge difference in your compensation. Everything is in the packaging. How you talk about yourself, how you brand yourself, is going to make a difference. And the same thing is true for companies. My key takeaway statements. I'm going to give you that first. Why? So that you will look for it during the presentation and they won't get lost as we talk through the presentation. First of all, I already said this, information governance is a foundational element for cybersecurity. As a matter of fact, I made that connection when I was attending the information governance conferences in Providence, Rhode Island between 2016, 2017, all those years, and I started to think, wow, that is so incredible. We've been kind of doing it unconsciously, but I never realized that connection. The second key takeaway statement is that a lot of people confuse cybersecurity with security because of that word security in there. But cybersecurity is a discipline, and it's really more about people, and you will see that in my presentation, that it's really about perpetual innovation, and who does perpetual innovation is people. We are a fountain of innovation. And without innovation, every organization is pretty much a dead organization. It's just a matter of time. So it is critical that perpetual innovation is embraced in every organization. Then, a lot of people look at records management, information governance, and even cybersecurity as a cost center. You will see in some organizations, they make these organizations report to the chief financial officer. Well, that's a crazy idea, because then it becomes a cost center. These are not cost centers. These are innovation and productivity engines. These are very, very strategic assets. And that is why you heard a little bit about leadership. Leadership is critical, because as soon as you have to engage people and bring their brains to fruit on some mission, you have to have leadership, because otherwise you're going to have helter-skelter decisions and actions. So people and leadership are critical to information governance and cybersecurity. And all of you are in that information goldmine and must start mining today. Why has this happened? What has changed? Well, several things have changed. Number one, the pace of change is dramatic. For example, when I was growing up, in order to see somebody or meet somebody, we actually had to walk over to their house or ride on a bicycle to their house. That was the only way. And we often didn't know if they were going to be home or not. But today, we are what? Hyper-connected, perpetually connected. People, machines are globally connected all the time. Second thing, when I first came to the United States, even to call my mom, for 1 minute, it used to cost me $3.58. And I couldn't call her anytime I wanted. I had to wait for the operator to hook us up and call us God knows when, and we would get a line. But today, we're perpetually connected in audio, video, on all kinds of technology, and guess what? Most of this technology is free. So in this new world where everyone handles technology and data, every one of you have computers in your hands far more powerful than the computers I used when I started my career in this business. Then, we are used to thinking organizations have a perimeter and a boundary. Well, guess what? There are no boundaries anymore. even human relationships are through technology today. I have a couple of my graduates in the audience today. Today is the first time I met one of my graduates. Pretty amazing. And yet we actually had a very deep mentor-mentee relationship for the last, I think, 3 years almost. Yep. Incredible. People do not go to work anymore. They work from where they are. And so in this environment, enterprise governance, information governance, and leadership, all of these things have blended into this amazing environment. And then, let's talk about cybersecurity and information. Information exists in 3 states. It's either in storage somewhere, or in motion somewhere, or it's being processed somewhere. And during any of those stages, that information could lose its integrity, it could lose its availability, or it could lose its confidentiality. Don't information governance professionals have to worry about that? Of course they do. Well, those 3 are the key primary goals of cybersecurity. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality simply means the right people have access and the unauthorized people don't have access. Integrity means information must have the truth and nobody has modified it. And then availability means that information should be available as planned, from the location planned, and for the duration plan. For example, when you're doing even simple things as GDPR, well, you may have to worry about geographic boundaries for information. To do these goals, what do we use? 3 things. First, people. Second, policy and process. And third, technology. And it's really in that order. And then, as you can see from that slide, there's a dimension of time. What does that mean? Time means perpetual innovation over time. And that is why you can see there's a small box there, and then there's a larger box, and that box needs to continue to be larger over time. However, think about this. When you develop a strategy for any organization, don't you worry about the mission? Would the strategy for a healthcare organization or a education organization or a mom and pop pizza shop be the same? Absolutely not. So as a cybersecurity professional, information governance professional, records management professional, you have to tailor your strategy to the mission of the organization. Furthermore, there is no such thing as security anymore. Security is a state, that's gone. Cybersecurity is a process. And that process always involves the calculation of risk. I have to figure out how much money I have, what are my priorities, what do I want to achieve, and make my decision according to that. And then the final thing, and that is what came from the information governance conferences that I attended. This last thing, most important thing, the governance. Without governance, nothing will ever work. You can buy the best technology in the world, have the best processes in the world. Without governance, nothing will ever work. And so it is also very important that when we define something, so I defined cybersecurity. This was some other problem that I was noticing as I was going from conference to conference to conference. Everybody was touting cybersecurity products and services, and they were the best in the world. And your problems would be solved if you just buy their product, but nobody was defining cybersecurity. Some were even spelling it differently. Some had a hyphen in it, some spelled it as 2 words. So I'm thinking, if you can't even spell the word, how are you going to give me a solution for it? So this is part of the reason that I left corporate America and went into academia, because I said the only way to solve this problem is to teach people and educate people. And so from 2016, that is what I've been doing. I gave up being the chief information officer and all those things, but I had done that. It was a very, very fantastic career. I learned a lot. But in many ways, I thought that that career prepared me for what I'm doing today, which is building the next generation. I think the fact that some of my graduates are now winning awards is a testament to what we have done, which is create that practically grounded education, which is not all about theory, it is all about what you do. And this is the definition that permeates the entire program. Cybersecurity is the mission-focused and risk-optimized governance of information which maximizes confidentiality, integrity, and availability using a balanced mix of people, policy, and technology while perennially improving over time. I encourage you to embrace this definition and explain it to people. In simple terms, you can also say cybersecurity is people-powered perpetual innovation. That is one of the catchphrases that I've developed, and I have empowered my students to use that phrase because it is very important in your discipline, in any discipline. If you cannot explain your discipline in simple terms to other people, then you don't know the discipline well enough. It shouldn't go over people's heads. So I have found, and my students have found, my graduates have found, when we use this particular definition, it makes sense. They now see that, okay, I cannot spend all my money on technology. I must spend a lot of money on the people. Because who's going to choose the technology? If you have the wrong people or no people, guess what? You're going to choose the wrong technology. If you don't have the right people, who's going to configure the technology? Maybe your vendor. Who knows? So technology alone never solves any problem. Then, if you don't take care of things, if you don't do your due diligence on seeing how things are going, did your strategy bear the fruits that you were expecting? Because innovation is what? Always filled with risks. Every innovation. My God, when we launched a new program, it was a mess. But we learned from it. And we immediately started to change and create and adapt. And that is what every one of you should be doing. And the other key thing is to remember that if you just base your strategy on technology alone, you will fail every time. So, how do you do this? And why is leadership important? Because governance has to accommodate innovation. Governance does not mean control. And that is why leadership's job is to channel the innovation and the behavior so that it can accomplish the mission. A very simple example is like a highway, where if you didn't have the lanes and people were driving at all these high speeds, there would be accidents. So the lanes provide you with the governance environment that allows every person to drive their car, whatever car they wanted, at reasonable speeds within limits and not have an accident. And that is the creation of culture. So cybersecurity governance is the leadership of people to achieve cybersecurity culture and perpetual innovation and organization. So you can just put the word governance in there, information governance, and we'll work the same way. But I recommend that you start to brand yourself as cybersecurity professionals who just happens to be more interested in the information governance aspects of it. Okay? That's what I would recommend you think of yourselves as. If you're doing records management, not a problem. That is still an aspect of cybersecurity. So you're truly cybersecurity professionals who are looking at that aspect. If you're a lawyer, not a problem. You're looking at the legal aspects of cybersecurity. If you are an insurance person, not a problem. You're looking at the insurance aspects of cybersecurity. And guess what? It is very important that you engage all the brains in an organization towards that innovation. If innovation and governance and leadership is done at the very top layers of an organization without engagement of all the brains, you're just wasting a lot of brains. And that is why it is very important to also understand the difference between management and leadership. I have never allowed myself to be called a boss. Very recently, I hired a new professor, and somebody was introducing me as her boss. And I said, absolutely not, I'm not her boss. So then she was also wondering, what am I? And they were wondering, what am I? I said, I am your mentor. My job is to make you successful, and in your success will be my success. It was amazing. I had many job interviews, and people asked me, how many people do you manage? And I always said 0, which created a quiz in their mind, 0. But I thought you had 100 people reporting to you. I said, yeah, they are reporting to me, but I don't manage them. I lead them, and there's a big difference. Because a leader's job is to make everybody around them successful. And if everybody around me is successful, guess what? I am successful by default. So leadership is actually a practiced art, practiced skill. Nobody is born a leader. Everybody already has that skill in them. The fact that every one of you came to this event was an act of leadership. Some of you drove several hours. Some of you flew several hours. Some of you came from other countries. Why did you do that? Because you want to invest in yourself as well as for your organization. You want to lead. You are leaders. That is why you came here. There are plenty of people who were given the same amount of money and everything and didn't go. Didn't come. I have seen that all the time. Part of the reason is they don't understand how important it is. Many people have said, oh, I don't need to go to those things because I'm not a leader. But every one of us are leaders. It's just that we don't know. So in order to produce innovation and human productivity, this is a key model that leaders need to understand. So this is the how. How are we going to do this? These are the 4 elements of success for humans. For human productivity and innovation, these are not my ideas. I have the citation down there. These ideas have been around. I have just put them in this new context. Knowledge is important, of course. Attitude is important. Skills are important. Habits are important. Think of it as the cash model. So cash connotes money. So think of it the cash model of human productivity and innovation. However, notice the things in red on this chart. Attitude and habits. Those are 2 key things that a leader has a huge amount of influence. How? Well, think of simple thing as rewards. As a leader, don't I have 2 types of rewards I can give people? Monetary rewards and non-monetary rewards. Financial rewards, non-financial rewards. But what inspires people most? Not really money. A handshake, a thank you note, an award certificate that just costs pennies. That will inspire people to do better and do more, far more than the money. Yes, money is important, and money needs to be ethical. But that is not the only way you can get productivity out of people. Well, guess what? I had an unlimited supply of non-financial rewards at my disposal all the time. Even though the financial rewards were limited, right? I cannot just give away money all the time. So leaders need to use these non-financial rewards a lot more. And that is the best way to drive human productivity and innovation. So we need to be conscious of that. The second thing that is very important is the concept of ethical leadership. Because leadership, by definition, has to have integrity. Why? Because if you don't have integrity, and you're giving people information, and what you're saying is not true, then what's going to happen? People are going to make decisions based upon what you just said, and their lives could be in danger. They could be, the nuclear power plant could be in danger. So the information that leaders provide has to have integrity. The second thing is that in a capitalist society, what is the promise of capitalism? What is the promise of America or Canada? It is that if I innovate and I work hard, I get to enjoy the fruits of my working hard. And for me, that was amazingly true. I'm a first-generation American. I'm an immigrant in this country. And I saw how we are rewarded for our innovation and productivity. However, some of that is beginning to change. And what is happening is that people are using power and authority to take away people's fair share of the profits of any organization. And that is a key thing that we need to be careful about, because ethical leadership is required for innovation. Why? Because if I want somebody to innovate and they're not enjoying the fruits of their innovation, what are they going to do? They're not going to innovate. They're not going to be loyal to the company. They're going to be looking out for their next job. Well, if they're constantly leaving my organization every 2-3 years, every time somebody goes away, guess where the information is? A lot of the information is not in any system. It's in people's minds, in their brains. In many organizations, people are viewed as a cost center. That's the way it's in the accounting system. Well, that's the wrong way to view it. I've never viewed people as a cost center or an expense. I've always viewed people as assets because they grow more valuable over time. The more experienced they are, the more valuable they are to me. Because we would never hire somebody whose value is actually lower than what we're paying them. That would be ridiculous. We would never buy something when we perceive the value of that something to be lower than the price we pay, right? So people development and sharing the fruits of success is very important. And this has been talked about in my book. So one of the things that I wrote in the book also is the connection between ethical leadership and profitability. I actually used the case of Southwest Airlines, which was the only airline that was profitable after 9/11. A quarter after 9/11, Southwest Airlines is the only airline that was profitable. Part of the reason is they still have profit sharing with the employees. They've never had a layoff. They did not have a layoff after 9/11 either, when every other airline was laying people off left and right. Well, many of those companies actually went bankrupt. You don't even hear about some of them. But Southwest has continued to grow. So it is very important to read some of these case histories of ethical leadership of companies and then see if we can bring a lot more of that. Because in order to develop a leader culture, these are also things that I practice my whole life, and these are also explained much more deeply in the book Cybersecurity Leadership. That integrity is important, empowerment is important, because empowerment means what? Giving people the ability to make decisions according to their expertise. See, if all the decisions flow up to, say, a hierarchically anointed person in authority, guess what? You'll be making far fewer decisions. In the nuclear power plant, this is where I learned this culture of empowerment. As a simple employee, if I felt that my boss was telling me to do something that would jeopardize the safety of the plant, guess what? I could refuse to do it. They could not fire me. They could not do anything with me. teamwork. Again, working in harmony, being able to produce winning value. That's also very critical. Customer service, because if you don't do customer service, you're not going to have customers. Continuous improvement, and then positive reinforcement, which is that as people do good things, share the non-monetary rewards. And if you're going to do this at the personal level, you also need to start doing it at the organizational level. So what happens is that you translate from the personal level to the organizational level, where you now have that governance environment through ethical leadership with shared responsibility for people. In other words, my success is very much dependent on the success of people around me. If my team members fail, what good is it if I win an award? It's meaningless. As a matter of fact, in my current job, during the job interview, people asked me, why are you the best candidate? Why should we hire you? My response is the same response I gave everybody, that I will never knowingly allow a team member to fail, and I will work very hard for the success of the people around me. And that's what I've done. The beautiful thing is, I helped my boss win an award. I helped other team members win an award. And now I'm trying to help my graduates win awards. So that is very important. Because it's all teamwork. If my graduates are not successful, by definition, I am not successful. Right? So the benefits of ethical leadership is these, that you will have better loyalty, better retention, better teamwork, better productivity, better innovation culture, better cybersecurity. All of these things
are critically important for cybersecurity.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, I think somehow this thing got turned off. Let me see if this one is working. Is this one working?
Sound guy lost the power went down. So he's rebooting his power board.
All right.
So
I was wondering if it was pulling out some more.
that's all the tap dancing I got. So you've got a bit of time left. But when the power board reboots, give you the big signal. So keep tweeting. Actually, I'm going to try a human experiment here. In the back, how well can you hear us? All that tells me is that you just don't want to hear me.
So one of the things we learned is one of the most important things in any conference is what? Technology. Backup, right. Disaster recovery.
Business continuity.
So I don't think it's still working.
Nope.
disaster recovery while we were waiting, so some of the things we still hear. What happened was we used to have a giant tank of petroleum, gasoline. Well, actually, it was some kind of an oil to run the generators for our entire computer plant. Well, one of the biggest disasters ever during my career was when the person came to fill up that tank. He was not monitoring the process, and it started to overflow. And then it flooded the whole basement. And it was a nightmare for about 3 to 4 months. Because that smell of gasoline was in that entire building for several months. Luckily, nothing caught on fire.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing disaster. Another story from my life.
Now you can sing a song now.
I could, if I had the guitar.
Learn that?
No, actually, we have the CyberRapper over here. Maybe you can hear a CyberRap. So one of my graduates, she's earning her fame by writing cybersecurity raps and then performing them as part of her presentation. So it's pretty cool. And she actually has a hashtag CyberRapper. So if you want to see her posts and everything, you can do that. My posts are under hashtag
You just got 100
Cybersecurity.
followers.
That's the name the blogosphere gave me.
Michelle, can you beatbox?
But another story is
Okay,
that
I need a backup.
why, I'm going to ask you this question.
He's really
Why is it
struggling
not a
out
good
here.
idea
I bet,
to
right?
create a data center in the basement of the room of a building? Because water flows down, right?
Sprinklers start on.
Yes, so it happened in my career. In one of the early jobs that I had, I didn't build that data center, but I inherited it. And it just so happened that somebody on the 3rd floor left the water running, and the entire basement and all the servers and everything were flooded. So when I had my chance to actually design this for a university, one of the first things I noticed was some of the designs were already done. And they had the computing server room in the basement. I said, no way. Why? I said, it's got to be on the 3rd floor minimum. Why? Because water flows down. I shared the story. So they changed the whole design, luckily, to do that. And it also makes sense for the wiring, right? Because it's much more efficient if the wiring is run from the middle of the building and stuff like that, rather than from the bottom all the way to wherever you're going to go.
Should I go there?
You know him better than I do.
I'll say a poem.
But nothing, yeah, go ahead.
I can yell.
Tomiko Evans.
Cybersecurity has been around for such a long time. This involves people, policy, technology, in hopes of perpetual improvement where there's no fears. Adversaries are using countless attacks, DDoS, phishing, malware, and other counteracts. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability has reached a level of concern. If nothing is done, do you think we'll learn? Companies are lacking the employees with the knowledge, the skill, and the ability to put people in a position of cybersecurity. So what really needs to be done about closing this gap? Organizations need to use people as an asset, and companies can close this problem shut. And organizations will not be in this rut. Open your eyes, dear people. Don't let this become a continuous series
October 30th
Oh.
in Orlando, Florida. And Atlanta to be here, and I'm going to make the trip from Maryland to be there for you. We're gonna talk a lot more because I'm here for the whole conference. We're gonna do a book signing at some point, and then we're gonna do another session on Wednesday, I believe. And I'm here on one-on-one, so when I am at a booth at a table, please come and network, and we're gonna talk and answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for your time.